Hello, boys. Thanks for joining us this evening. Got Peter and Oliver Lanes coming on very shortly. I just thought of coming on a little bit early to just have a chat with you about a couple of things that are pending and what we're going to do. We haven't really had any fantastic news really about snooker. It's looking very, very likely like the World Championships are going to be held behind closed doors in the next couple of months. It's looking that way, very, very definitely. I think it's pretty good news that we're sort of very gradually. It looks like we're coming out of the lockdown in terms of clubs opening. It's not great really until July, and clubs are not really going to be able to open until that time, and even with that, it looks like that social distancing is going to be a big problem in that respect. So I think that it's very doable, it's very possible, and working with the clubs, it's something we can sort out. The pro-ams, guys, I'm going to schedule pro-ams for the end of July. So we're gonna start at the new club in North London, Edmonton, Cousin Snooker Club. We're gonna have a 16-player pro-am there on Saturday at the end of the month, and then we're gonna have one on Sunday. I'm sort of provisionally looking ahead with a little bit of positivity. I think we all need that at the moment with what's going on. So I'm kind of thinking, I'm just looking in the diary actually, guy, you probably know I don't write things down. I sort of like to just give it to you how it is. But I think really, possibly 25th, 26th of July could be a return to where we're going with the pro-ams. So Saturday 25th of July at the Cousin Snooker Club in Edmonton in North London. And then obviously JP's on the Sunday, Jason Pagram's club on the Sunday at 26th. And I know some of you, some of you have got some entry fees in there. But what I'm thinking of doing is having maybe a couple of £500 prize pot competitions just to sort of get us back into some kind of a rhythm. Because I suppose we're all heading for a recession. It's not going to be it's not just going to be a UK recession. It's going to be a global one, I think. And I think quite a lot of us are on furlough. So a lot of you guys are self-employed as well. But in terms of snooker players, you're all self-employed. But for some of the regular players, I think we'll bring the prize pots down a little bit, and we'll have a back-to-back weekend there, just get ourselves back on track, and get you all on the tables again and play some good competitive snooker. So I know there's probably about 12 of you who have, maybe I can't remember, it's probably about 10 of you who have got entry fees in the pot, so you can play it over the two events. But we'll sort that out. There's a lot of good things happening as well, guys. There's the Cousins Snooker Club in North London is a very, very new club, and I went there just before the lockdown and checked out the club and checked out the tables. Just like very, very similar setup to JP's Lounge, Jason Pagram's clubs in Harlow, where you have 5 tables, a lot of space, nice bar area, very, very friendly. And I think we can get a really good thing going there. And so I want to get the regular players to come down there, but I also want to get some new players in as well. I know a lot of you lads live up in Leeds and Manchester and Birmingham and Sheffield, and you live each end of the coast. Wherever you are, there is going to be great opportunities for you to come down and play in a 16-player, very tough 16-player, best of 7 pro-am, and over the weekend. And you can stay in Edmonton, you can stay in Harlow. There are very cheap hotels, and we're going to sort out some parking for you. I'm going to organise a little shuttle on the Saturday, so you can get to the club, and then we can talk about the whole weekend in general. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm kind of hoping that we can all get out of this and get back on track by the end of July. The hospitality situation with clubs and pubs, what have you, you all know this. It's all sort of first week in July orientated. So I think, we can do nothing other than be a little bit positive about it all and get back on track. I know some of you have got tables at home and you can practice. Keep practicing, don't stop. A lot of the professionals are telling me that they're not practicing because there's nothing really to play for. But it's not a reason to stop playing. But I think we're all going to come out of this really, really good, because we're going to come out of this very, very positively, and probably with a whole new strength, and enthusiasm to get back involved. Just like all the public are really desperate to get back involved with their work and their sports and their lives. And I think the other thing I'll mention is testing. Testing is becoming a big thing, and in terms of sport, I think it's going to be a big thing for football. Professional footballers are probably going to get involved very much with COVID-19 tests and antibody tests very, very quickly. I mean, the antibody tests are going to be rolled out very, very shortly. They've been approved, which is a great thing, and the COVID test has been around. I'm sure all of us are a wee bit sort of apprehensive about the tests and what have you. I had a COVID test on Friday this week, not particularly because I had symptoms. I mean, we're all getting a wee bit paranoid about all this. It's just normal to get paranoid. Or, if you get a sore throat, or you get a cold, or you feel like shit, and you're not sure what's going on. Sometimes you think, have I got the virus, But I sort of had a little bit of a tickle in my throat, and I never really checked my temperature. But being I'm a registered self-employed transport organization. I'm a registered transportation business. It's part of what I do, and so I was entitled to a test, and I had the test on Friday, and I actually got the result this morning, Sunday morning. The test came back negative, and I suppose for some of you it's probably a good thing. I mean, I don't think it's great. I mean, if the test had come back positive, I probably would have isolated for maybe a couple of weeks. But does it really make that much difference? Because if you're tested positive next week, somebody can give you the virus. So it could be down to an antibody test to see if you've had it. If you've had the virus maybe a few weeks ago. But getting back to snooker and other professional sports, it's very, very significant, because with, for example, the snooker, World Snooker, could perhaps look at this from a point of view, and their point of view could be that maybe if the players could be tested prior to playing their qualifiers or their first, their qualifying rounds, then the COVID test takes 2 days. It's pretty much, look, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, it's the COVID-19 test is going to be open to everybody, because in the UK, they're rolling out 100,000 plus tests a day. So for professional sports people, and that applies to everybody, that test will probably be available to snooker players. The antibody test could well be possibly available to snooker players also. So you've got a double hit there. You've got a test for the players to see if they have the virus, and a test to see if they've had the virus. And I think that will make a lot of the players feel very, very comfortable. For example, if they're coming to Sheffield to play in the World Championships. So that's sort of like just last week's news. And I think with football, it's going to be very significant to that extent. And I think with snooker, it's like a lot of other sports like tennis, golf. A lot of these sports are now available to play with social distancing. In terms of audiences watching the games and to that extent, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It can't happen because we're not at the stage where people can sit next to each other at the Crucible and watch snooker matches as they go, or football matches for that matter. So I think that is a very, very important, very positive sort of outlook for snooker anyway, from my point of view, So very shortly, guys, we're going to have we've got Peter and Oliver Lange join us. We're going to talk about their careers. We're going to talk about lots of different things. We're going to have a little look at them and see where they are in the game. And it gives you a little bit of an insight, just like everything else we do. That's the reason why we're doing this, doing it because of lockdown, and it gives you an opportunity to send some questions in, and maybe hopefully when they just speak generally, it gives you a lot of information about the guys on the tour, because I think it's very interesting this week because Peter Lange has been on the tour for very, very on and off the tour for a very, very long time. He's a proper tour professional. He's been on the tour since '91. His son Oliver came on the tour about 6 years ago, and he will know more as well as anybody else of his age getting on the tour, how tough it is to win those qualifying matches, and we're going to be talking about that too. Also, this is very, very important. Sean Murphy. Sean's been torturing me. He's been torturing me to come on this show for like weeks, and I've been putting him off. I can't hold it off any longer. So Sean's coming on next week. Okay? He's coming on next week. All right? He's not the most exciting player on the tour. He's not the most exciting player. And he did marry an Irish woman. And I won't hold that against him. I will not hold that against Sean. But I did warn him not to marry an Irish woman or nothing but trouble. But anyway, he's a great player. He's a master cumin. He's the master cumin. Hasn't he got a great cue action? What do you think? So I'm going to get Sean on us. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into it. We're going to get inside Sean Murphy's head. We're going to get inside the man. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about his cueing. We're going to talk about his world championship. We're going to talk about his wins. We're going to get inside the man's head. We're going to get really deep inside Sean Murphy. I've been putting him on for weeks, but he's coming on. He's coming on. He is. He's coming on. He's going to be live, probably for 2 hours. I'm not sure I can put up with Sean Murphy for 2 hours. I'll try. I'll really, really try. But he's coming on, and I'm sure he has a lot of things to say. He's very technical, actually, Sean. I met Sean probably about a couple of years ago, and I spoke to him in the lounge, the practice area, actually, with Jordan, last year. And I think the great thing about Sean, he is a technically driven player, and he talks about the game, and he has a great knowledge of the game, and he studies the game. And I think it's important to do that. A lot of players don't do that. I think that having that sort of perspective will be a very good insight for all of you. You want to, obviously you want to listen, because that's why we're here. That's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because we can all join in, and you can listen to the players, and if you play, that's okay. Maybe it'll help you move along and improve and go where you want to go. Or if you're just a snooker fan, you sit at home and you want to watch snooker, You know why? I get very bored watching snooker, but some of the players are very good. Most of them are not very good. They're very boring. I'd rather watch a movie, personally. I'd rather feed the cats. But that's okay. If you want to watch snooker, it's all right. So you might just be a snooker fan out there. If you're just a snooker fan and you want to listen to these boys talking about their careers and how they developed their game and how they became as boring as they are, that's okay. Then just join in here and then ask a few questions and we can answer them and we can get off and, go and watch a film and go to sleep and wake up and not be able to do anything because of the lockdown, That's it. It's up to you. It's entirely up to you. Well, anyway, we're coming up to, where are we? About 5 to 7. Keep checking the time all the time, Any questions you want to send in, boys, send them in. Or if you want to make a comment, make a comment, I know I keep saying this, YouTube, okay? Most of you have got a YouTube account, okay? You got a YouTube account. Can you please go into YouTube? Just go into YouTube and type in Pro-Am Snooker TV. Just type in Pro-Am Snooker TV and subscribe. Subscribe to Pro-Am Snooker TV. That's me. That's me. I know I'm not interesting. I'm not very exciting or anything, but just hit the subscribe button. Do you know why? Do you know why that is? Because if you hit the subscribe button, then I get enough subscription to monetize the channel. And I get a little bit of money from Google. And then we can do a bit of advertising. We might get a sponsor. I might put more snooker money into the competitions. And then we can go to big places. There's lots of things we can do. So you need to subscribe to the channel. Is that asking too much? Is it asking too much? Anyway, guys, please just go into the YouTube channel. I know we're on Facebook Live, by the way. And the reason why we have continued on Facebook Live is because I can't get them on. I can't get some of the lads on YouTube. I can't get them on live. So, we have to, we can only do what we can do. So if there's any comments, you want to make any comments, send them in now. Go on, just say hello. Say hello to me. Say hello to me. Say hello. Just say, hi, Dave. So I know you're there and you're watching. And then we can just get on with it. Cheers. That's Coke, by the way. I haven't had a drink in 3 months. You believe that? You'll believe anything. Anyway, this is great. I always look forward to this every Sunday, guys. When we get the players on and we get into their careers a little bit and ask questions, and sometimes, it just comes out. Oh, the other thing is, lads, if you want to play in the competitions that hopefully will start getting rolling again in July, join the players group on the Facebook page. Or just send me a message with your mobile phone number, and then I can register you as a player or have a conversation with you about it, and then we can sign you up and get you down. And that's the way to do it. The competitions are pretty tough. They're not as easy. I know some of you lads come in and want to get involved and join in and play and what have you. I think is you come down, you think maybe you just want a little bit of experience, or you think you're going to win it, then that's okay. But the reality is, the reality is that they're very, very tough. They're very, very tough to win. And a lot of the players are, pretty much semi-professional. So there isn't in my view, there isn't a great deal of difference in standard between the pro-am guys playing the competitions and quite a lot of the guys on the tour, on the bottom 64 of the tour. You know, and I know I keep saying that. I know I keep saying there's huge for me and from my perspective, my point of view, that there is you know, huge divisions between standards and the players on the tour, and that still stays the same. There are massive differences between the players on the tour, and there are, you know, there's massive differences between standards of players on the tour, you know, and we're just bringing the boys in now, guys. Okay, we're just bringing them in. Okay, here he is. He's upside down, actually. Yes, Peter. Don't be coming on sideways. I'm going to have a lot of trouble just looking at you if you come on sideways. Okay.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Right, lads. Thanks very much for joining me. We got Peter Lanes. We got Oliver Lanes. We're on live. Okay, this is not pre-recorded. Okay, we're not. There's nobody's dull here. Everybody's very smart.
You could have put a shirt on.
I don't have a script. I don't need a script. These two need a script, you know, because I'm good and they're just snooker players, you know. So that's the way it is. Anyway, Peter.
Hello.
What are you doing? Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, yeah.
You are? Okay. Is that, honestly, I'll tell you what, look, Peter, you know, I'm very impressed with you, I'll have to say. I'm gonna go. Like, I promised myself, because Oliver did say to me to go easy on you.
Right. Okay.
All right. He did say to go a wee bit. You're a wee bit fragile at the minute. All right. That's got nothing to do with your age. Okay. Because I know you're 50. I know you're 50. And by the way, you look at. But it doesn't matter. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Listen, I'm 52 and I look 10 years younger.
You look 72.
You know, I never. Nobody's paying any attention to that. Okay, right. And by the way, before we get going here, okay, I have to say this. You know, I met you lads last year at the Mark On Pro-Am. Do you remember?
Yeah.
You were so drunk you probably don't remember.
I don't remember.
But, you know, I met you two at the Pro-Am, and you were both a very bad influence on me, because being a very light drinker that I am and very sensible person all the time, you two led me astray.
No, not me.
You know, and I had to, look, Peter, I had to endure you. I had to watch you dancing on. I mean, you were dancing. You embarrassed all of us by dancing. You know, while all the girls were following Oliver to the bar. I don't know why.
That was just an act.
I kept telling the ladies he was very dull, but they never listened to me. But strangely as it was, they went over to the bar and they started talking to Oliver, and then they came back to me and said, "Dave, you were right. He's very dull." Anyway, it doesn't matter about that. Right, we're going to start, okay? Peter, we're going to start with you because you're old. Okay? Right, Peter, okay. We joke and we laugh, but there's a lot of lads our age who are actually still got the talent, mate, you know, and all right, I might just be a couple of years older than you. And I'm going to get, by the way, I'm getting back on the seniors tour. I'm going to get back because I think I've still got it. I'm going to beat all of you on the seniors tour. I know I am. I know I've got it. Now, but you've done one better, mate. You've done one better at the age of 50. You've got back on the tour. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about that a wee bit later, you know. But I'm going to start with you now. I'm going to start with you. You know, you turned pro in 91, which, by the way, is a very long time ago. And, okay, I mean, look, just to sum it all up, you know, you got on the tour, you beat some of the best of them. You beat some of the best of them. You proved yourself to be a tour player. You came off the tour, you know, you're on a bit, you came off, You came on again. You had a bit of coaching. You tried a bit of coaching, like they all do, like we all do. We all like a good woman. Sorry, a coach. And we try very, very hard to keep ourselves there, the places we want to be. But in all fairness to you, you actually kept yourself on the tour, and that's very respectable these days, because a lot of the young lads are coming on the tour, and then they're realizing, Oliver, and you know this only so well, kid. You've been on a tour 6 years, and you know how tough it is to stay on. So when you look at your dad, and you look at tour players like your dad, who've stayed on the tour for as long as he did, doesn't matter where he's dropped off for a bit or he's got back on again. It doesn't make a difference. He's actually proved himself capable enough to stay on the tour and beat some very good players, and he has. And I don't, Peter, I don't need to go through your timeline to look at the players you've beaten, some of the events you have, because you've beaten some very good players over the years, and you've put yourself where you are because you're good enough to be where you are. So nobody can take that away. And the boat, you've struggled as well. And I think it's fair to say you've struggled with big tournaments. I think that's another thing that I spotted on your timeline too, But I think another thing about you, Peter, and we're going to touch on this, we're going to talk about this in a wee second, is you've actually improved with age. What is it with players who improve with age? We'll talk about that in a wee minute, But you're old. You are old, Anyway, just touching on you a wee second. Okay. And you did sort of like Jesus, it's hard to touch on you. I'll tell you what it is, because you're younger. You're a lot younger than my daughter, and I know I don't look as old as Peter, but it's you did the PTCs. You did the PTCs, and you struggled a wee bit there, and you did Q school, and I think if I'm right, you sort of when you did Q school, you sort of got close. You won your first 4 or 5 matches, but you didn't quite get over the line. And then like your dad, you came through EASB. That's back in the days when it was a good organization, by the way. It's not now. It's fell to bits. But it was pretty good then with the qualifiers. But the both of you came through that way. You did. You got on a tour as you did. And you, I think it was was that right, Oliver? Under 21s, you got through that way. You got playoffs. You got on a tour via under 21s.
Yeah, European under 21s, yeah.
Okay. So sort of a wee bit of a resume on the both of you there before I try and get inside your heads. Very tough, very long, very, very long, very tough process, But look, you're both on the tour, and it's not often I get to speak to a father and son on the tour. As I was saying to you earlier, Oliver, the only two I can think of, and by the way, I'm old enough to remember this, is probably Jeff and Neil Foles. And so are you, Peter. You'll remember that. But we're not going to see it very often. We're not going to see a father and son on the tour in that respect, But Peter, we're going to start with you. I want you to tell me how it all started.
How get into snooker style?
Yep. How you got into snooker, when you knew you were going to get on the tour.
Well, I started playing snooker. I only played once a week, and from between 14 to 16. And then I just started playing a lot more when I got to 16. And then I realised, because I saw myself out of play, and I just took it from there, really. I just found I was quite good at it straight away.
Just before you carry on, there's a wee bit of an echo in the background there. It might well be because you've got a speaker on. It's a bit like when you're speaking on radio, if you've got a speaker on, or maybe you're too close together. Are you in the same room, or are you in separate rooms?
We're in the same room.
Are you? That's why. Well, we'll see how it goes. It may well be that one of you is going to have to move. Maybe possibly down to the basement where I don't have to look at you. I don't know. But yes. So you started at that age. So when did you know, Peter? When did you know you were going to turn professional?
Well, Well, I thought I'd get through. I went to Ponting for the pro tickets, and I got into the playoffs 2 years running. And the first year, I wasn't good enough to get through, although I got in. And I didn't get through. But the second year, I finished third on the ranking list, and I thought I would get through then. And I completely bottled it in the playoffs. I lost to some Canadian geezer that was not very good. And but then, luckily for me, they opened up again a year later. Having said that, I think if I'd got through the playoffs, I'd have had a year on the tour when the standard wasn't great, and I would have been a lot higher ranked, a lot quicker. But that's one of those things.
I mean, we're going way back here.
Yeah, 1990.
That's right. So, yeah. I mean, even then it was quite tough.
Yeah. There'd be 500, 600, 700 people at those pro tickets trying to get in the top 20, 24.
And you'll obviously you remember Blackpool.
Yeah, I remember the Norbeck.
What are your memories of Blackpool?
Yeah, we were good and bad the first year. The first year wasn't at Blackpool. They played like round clubs and then you went to Trentham Gardens. And I did really well the first year. And I only got in the 64 from 800 in the first year. But then it went a bit pear-shaped.
That's better. Somebody you moved there, Oliver, and all of a sudden his voice got a lot better. But I mean, Peter, thinking back, just having a wee bit of a reflection on your career, sort of looking back at your, when I speak to players of your generation, who have been on the tour for nearly 30 years, on and off the tour, whatever. You sort of like, I sort of break it down into decades. So if you look at your first 10 years and then maybe the middle part and the ending part, where do you see the transition? Where do you see the difficulties? I mean, how do you think you could have progressed, or how far you got? Do you think you could have done something maybe that you didn't do?
Yes, and I don't think any of it has been snooker related. I think it's all been myself. Like obviously everybody gets problems in their lives. If you're gonna have a career that's 30 years, it's gonna throw problems up during that time, isn't it? And and that's been my problem. I haven't dealt with outside problems well enough to progress at snooker.
You think has there been a lot of distractions? Maybe it's taken you away from the game. Is it because of a career or?
Yeah, just too many. Well, a handful that have been like really like detrimental. But listen, I'm not making excuses. It is what it is. It's down to each individual person to sort it out. But it hasn't. I don't know. That it is what it is, isn't it? So
there's a lot of players like yourself who have spent a long time on the tour, maybe that haven't got as far as they would have liked to, and you sort of look back. Are there areas in your game? I think the best thing for you to do, try and go to another room.
Yeah, I'm going to do, yeah.
And then we won't get the echo from the audio. And I think, if you look at your career, I have nothing but the greatest respect for players who have managed to stay on the tour for a very long time, Peter, because things are not really going to change these days. I mean, these days we have 128 registered professionals. Back in the time when you came in, obviously you went to Blackpool, you'd win your qualifiers and what have you. You're a registered professional, and you wouldn't have been ranked, 40, 50, 60, 70. You wouldn't have been there, if you weren't good enough. And so I think in that respect, it's probably just as tough. I think you both probably agree with me that snooker players have got better. The players have got a lot better. The game's advanced. Players have got stronger in that sense. But it's still very, very tough to stay in a group or to stay on the tour.
Yeah, it's harder to stay on the tour now than it's ever been. I think, because realistically, if you don't get in the 64, which if you've got 120 players that are good enough to be on the tour, only 64 can stay on each year. It's going to be tough. But that's how it should be. It's professional sport. It should be tough. And you've got to try and rise to that challenge. Every time you get your cue out, you've got to try and prove that you're better than everybody else, because that's how it is. And if you keep drawing Judd, Neil, Mark Allen, John Higgins, you've got to find some way to beat them players, because you've got to get yourself up there. And if you can get yourself up there, the rewards are enormous now. Barry's done an unbelievable job, and the rewards are enormous.
So just looking back again, Peter, just looking back over your career, is there anything, areas where perhaps you think maybe you could have improved more, or mistakes you've made, or areas you could have, you done things differently?
Yes. Snooker-wise, well, in my personal life, definitely, but snooker-wise, I wish I had teamed up with Steve Prest a lot earlier than I did. Because I only teamed up with him, but we were best friends for a long time. And he was coaching. He coached, Sean Murphy when he won the world title and stuff like that. And he'd always said to me, Peter, I really want to work with you. I think you could go on and win a tournament. And I was always like, yeah, like when I was younger, I thought, I don't need anyone. I can do it on my own. And then it wasn't until my career I was sort of ready to stop playing. He said, let's give it one more go, and I'll work with you. And he said, we'll get back on the tour, because I wasn't even on the tour at the time. And he said, we'll get back on the tour. And he said, I'll guarantee you'll get in the top 64 in the first year. So I thought, well, it's only 12 months. I'll give it. If it don't work out, then it don't work out. But I did. I got back in the 64, and then I was on the up for the first time in a long time when Steve passed away, unfortunately. So, and then again, it's just another thing that I didn't deal with very well. But listen. I don't want to sit here and make excuses, because it's up to everybody to deal with this stuff as the best they can, because it's going to happen. Stuff's going to happen. You've got to be able to try and separate one from the other, and then hopefully try and crack on in your career. But not everybody can do that.
Very, very interesting point there, actually, Peter, when you talked about the coaching part of it, and that. I think you're reflecting there that was a turning point for you. He helped you,
absolutely,
in that respect.
I'd never had any coaching. I taught myself how to play. I've never had a single lesson up until that point in 2005, and I've been playing since 1983.
Yep. Well, a lot of players will say that, and a lot of players on the tour at the moment will say they're self-taught and they don't need coaches. How important do you think that a coach is for a young player these days?
It's a tough one, because I don't think everybody needs coaching, right? But I think because the tour as it is now, it is a lonely place, and I think everybody needs somebody. It's difficult to be going to tournaments on your own. You don't necessarily need to be a coach, but it needs to be someone that can take your mind off it, just get you to go out there and do your thing, and then if you're good enough, you're good enough. But you do need somebody. You need somebody. It's so lonely just going back to your hotel room, dwelling on defeats or whatever, and beating yourself up. You've got to be able to just separate yourself from it and be able to go again. But you've got to find that right person. You've got, and once you do, then you can achieve anything if you've got the dedication.
Oliver, just going to switch over to you for a wee second while we're on the coaching subject matter here. What are your views on this in terms of coaching?
I haven't really got any. I've never really had a coach apart from this season. Dad's obviously helped me out a lot from growing up. He taught me the basics and stuff, and then he just let me get on with it on my own. And then at the start of this season, I signed up with Chris Henry. And it's not been a great season, but I feel like I'm...
it hasn't been a great season for a lot of players and your ability, Oliver. I mean, look, listen, kid, in all honesty, you joined the tour 6 years ago, and you know how tough it is just to get past the qualifying rounds. And a lot of players similar to yourself, similar ability, very good. I personally believe there's a lot of divisions in the game. I mean, there's a lot. Players like you drop off the tour, you'll go to Q school, you'll get back on again, and you're one of them actually. If you do, you probably will. But because I think there's a big division in standard ability. with players. I don't think there's that many good players, you know. But Peter, just getting back to you a wee second. You obviously you dropped off the tour. You came back on through EASB and EASB playoff there. You didn't get back on through Q School, but you probably, perhaps, maybe would have got back on through Q School anyway.
Yeah. Well, yes, I probably would. But I would think, and this is only me, I would think if when me and Oliver's mum got divorced, if that hadn't happened, I would never have fallen off the tour.
Right.
I fell off the tour. In my eyes, and maybe I'm wrong, and people are obviously entitled to their opinion, but in my eyes, I was too good to fall off the tour, and I got back on because I shouldn't have fallen off in the first place. Not then, anyway. Certainly not then.
Right.
But again, that's life.
Well, no, it's good you touched on that too, because snooker is one of those games where your personal life can have an enormous effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not gonna. I don't like dropping. I don't like mentioning names on here, because I know a lot of the tour players like yourselves, and who have lost relatives, who have went through a divorce, who have they have illnesses, and they're on a day-to-day basis they're dealing with these things, and they're dealing with the pressure of going to a tournament. And snooker is one of those sports where you have to travel, and you have to get to a tournament, and you have to play well. And lots of expected of you in a very, very short space of time. What's your take on that, Oliver?
It's tough, isn't it? Every time you don't play well, you get beat. It's as simple as that. The game's too good now to play bad and win. So if you turn up and you're slightly below par, you get beat. It's that easy, really.
So when you turn up, obviously, the both of you are very much in the same position now. Ironically, Peter on a tour for years. Oliver, you've been on a tour for a few years. You're both very similar. I think, Oliver, at the moment, I think you're sort of touch and go staying on. Am I right there?
I think it's more go than touch.
Yeah, okay. Peter, you're sort of like around about 70 odd in the world. And
I've got another year anyway, so...
You've got another year to go because you obviously got back on. Yeah. So similar provisional ranking sort of positions there. Well,
we're in
both know what you have to do.
We're in a similar position ranking wise, but we're not in a similar position because for me, I'm playing because I love snooker. I absolutely love it. It's what I've always wanted to do. I love it. I'm on the board now, and I love everything about snooker. So I'm playing for that reason. Oliver's playing for completely different reasons, and it is tough. He hasn't quite found his feet yet, and I think obviously people had expectations because I was a pro and he's got on the tour and stuff like that, and it's not an easy thing to deal with, And also, I think because everybody knows that Oliver's good. Nothing comes for free. Now, it shouldn't come for free for anyone, but because everyone knows he's a good player, they know that they have to play to a level Oliver will win. So they which is what they should be doing, and he's got to find, once he finds his natural game and he gets, I think he'll crack on. I really do.
Very, very tough.
Yeah.
Oliver, when obviously you came into the game, both of you didn't come in through. Peter, I know you've been on the tour, but you didn't get back on through Q School. What are your views on Q School? Do you think it's look, you'll probably both agree that if you're good enough, you'll get on. If you're good enough to get on the tour, you'll get on the tour. And I think Oliver, you've proved yourself good enough to stay on the tour. You just need to get those wins. Like many players your age group, kid. You just need you have the ability. Because you've beaten some good players and you can do it, but there's that apprehension, and that pressure on you to win those matches. Do you think that if you came off and had to go through Q School again, do you think that you would struggle with that? Do you think that would put more pressure on you?
It probably put pressure on because if I didn't get back on, then it's another year off the tour, but I don't think it'd add pressure because I think that I'm good enough to get straight back through, and I don't see 3 people are in 3 separate tournaments, me not having a good run in one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more matches I win, the more confident I'll get and the better I'll play.
Would you say you're a confidence-driven player?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Right. Peter, would you have said that the same about yourself?
I think everybody is. It's such a confidence game, this snooker, and well, all sport, but especially snooker. It's just so upstairs that, you know, if you're not in the right frame of mind, you know what I mean. But when you win and you don't think about anything, you just get your cue out, you play, you expect to win. It's when you're not winning that all the doubt creeps in, isn't it? But it's a confidence game.
Mm-hmm. And you know the thing. I've asked players this before. When they do get their first win, it's, I suppose, especially for you, Oliver, if you win, you know, if you win your effectively your qualifier, your first round match, it is a great confidence booster, you know. And a lot of, you know, the format the way it is, you could get anybody, you could get Ronnie or Neil, you know. There's we'll touch on that a wee bit later. That is one of the questions I asked all the players. In fact, what the hell? I may as well ask you it now, because I'll probably forget about it in about 20 minutes. But the 128 draw, you know, Oliver, you may get Ronnie. You know, Peter, you may get Neil Robertson. You know, and the other Hodges may get nobody or somebody very, very equivalent. What do you think of all that? What's your views on that, Peter?
I think the game needs a mix of how the draws are done, in my opinion. You know, I like the open draw for certain competitions, but I also think that some of the bigger competitions should be a seeded draw like the World Championship is. I think you'd see a lot less players winning no matches than, you know, getting on a run of losing matches, because then even when you get, I wouldn't say easy matches because there ain't any, but when you get slightly easier matches and you think, oh, well, I've got a chance of winning this, there's so much pressure on because you've been losing that you still don't perform correctly. And realistically, that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to try and perform correctly. If there was a mixture of the two, then I think that would work better for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Oliver?
I kind of agree. This season I must have played 15 top 16 players in the first round. And it's tough if you're not winning and you just keep getting beat. Obviously, it saps your confidence. And then when you play someone ranked near to yourself, it puts added pressure on because you have to win that game because you haven't won a game for a while because you've been playing Ronnie and people like that. So, yeah, I kind of agree with that.
And then just extending from that, guys, you know, what about the players? Oliver, we'll start with you on this one. Do you think that a lot of the players in your sort of ranking position, Oliver, do you see yourself as more than capable of beating them, or do you see it as like really, really tough, very competitive, everybody's got the same ability?
Well, I'd say about 18 months ago, I was in the top 50. So where I'm ranked now, I feel like if I drew one of them, I would be favourite to beat.
Confidence that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Peter, I know you get back on there this season. What's your perspective on this in terms of looking at the other players you may or may not draw?
To me, draws have never really bothered me. You know, I just think once you've won your first round match, you're not really bothered who you play. You just like a slightly easier first round match if you could get one. You know, because once you get into once you've won a game, realistically, I don't think you're bothered. I think you just take anybody. And, you know, because and playing the top players has never really bothered me. You know what I mean? Because where I'm ranked, let's say, you know, you're not really under pressure to win, so you can go out there and relax. It's harder to play the players that are ranked around where you are because you're both expected to win. You know, so it's difficult for a lower ranked player to relax then and play them players. Whereas you've got nothing to lose when you play the top players. You go out there, you play your own game. If you win, everyone's like surprised that you've won. But to me, I've never been surprised when I've beaten a top player because I know I can play like everybody does.
And this kind of reflects on one of the questions actually that's just was up there a wee minute ago. It was sort of like you two obviously interact as father and son. Do you consult each other on your matches, on your games, and where you are in that respect, Oliver?
Yeah, I do. I always ask for Dad's opinion because he's been there for a lot longer than me. He's got a lot more experience than me. I see Dad play every day, and I know how good he is. So he can teach me everything that I need to know to be a top player. So any match that we've watched back, I always like to ask Dad's opinion because I know that he'll give me the right opinion.
This is actually Peter. Peter, this is one of the questions that's on here. Actually, how difficult is it to coach your own kid?
Well, it's. I wouldn't necessarily say coach because we don't really coach. I don't tell him anything about his technique or anything like that, you know. And obviously we've had to learn along the way, like everybody does. You know what I mean? We've had a few arguments when we're trying to learn, and you know, and when he was only a kid, I'd sit there and I'd give him a little telling off or whatever, and he didn't work, and then I stopped watching him, and he came back to it, and we've had to learn on the job because it's difficult. I don't think anybody realizes how difficult it is for me and Oliver. Do you know what I mean? When we're both on the tour, you know, and because I said to Oliver a few years ago, look, I said for the sake of your career, if you want me to not be on the tour, then just say, do you know what I mean? But obviously he knows how much I love to play snooker as well. So he wanted me to be on the tour. But I wouldn't say it was tough for me to coach him, but it is tough for us both being on the tour. You know, because if he's played first and he's lost, then I've got to go out there and play, and I'm on a bit of a downer because he's lost, or vice versa. But again, it can have the adverse effect. If he's won, you know, I feel a lot better. But obviously, of late, neither of us have been winning, so it's been a downer.
Did you know he was going to? When did you know he was good enough to get on the tour?
Well, I would say to get on the tour.
Yeah. Did you know he was good enough? Did you feel he was good enough to do?
Technically, when he first started playing and he picked the cue up and he first started to play with it, I thought technically it was fantastic. I thought this technique could go far straight away. Now, obviously, you've got a lot of things to learn because, you know, he's not like Ronnie, where he's the most natural player you've ever seen. If he's got to work hard at his game and that, but he's got everything in place. He needs to look, let's say, and see where he wants to be in 5 years' time. He's not, even if he falls off the tour this year, he's not going to pack the game in because I think he's got a future in the game. He's going to have to go away, work even harder, and come back stronger.
And just while we're on that, just as a wee bit of humour here, who's winning the head-to-heads between you two?
Oh, no. Well, since lockdown, we've had 2 frames and I've won them both. But before lockdown, I couldn't win a frame in best of 19.
But I mean, you must. Well, that's fair enough, you know. But you must have wee best of 7s or something. Now, who's? Is it close between you two, or what? I'm just throwing that out there. It doesn't matter. You know.
Oliver wins most of the time.
Well, that should give him a bit of confidence, you know. I mean, so he should. I mean, you're the old man anyway. For goodness sake, you're over 20 years older than him.
Yeah, the pockets are too big now to tie people in knots anymore. What's going on? Let's get some thicker cloths on the table so you can put a ball safe when you're 40 in front.
So we'll go back to you, Peter, for a wee second. So, look, you've had a long career, right? And you've had a bit of time now. You've got back on. And it was. I tell you what, actually, I want to give you a wee bit of a compliment here. But it was very refreshing to see you do well on the seniors there while you had the little break, and obviously you got back on the tour again. But where do you see yourself at the minute? Just reflecting on your career, where do you see yourself right now in the game?
I don't really. It's a tough one to say. I would probably say I would probably be ranked. I think if I was playing like I play in the club, I could definitely be back in the 64. But obviously, I'm not playing like that in my matches. So where I'm ranked is where I'm ranked. There's no hiding places. I've played 18 tournaments and I'm ranked where I'm ranked. So I presume there, because it's the match table that counts, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But Peter, you've got my support. I want to see old men coming back. I want to see old men coming back. I mean, I may even try and get back in again. We can beat these little squirts. We can beat them. They don't know anything.
Correct. Yeah, but it's not those. It's the 40-odd-year-olds that are at the top of the game that we're struggling to beat.
Right, Oliver, just going to switch over to you for a second. I try not to hit you with too many difficult questions, in case you want to thump me or something. But I know. Look, you've been on the tour 6 years. Okay, you're a young guy. Okay, at least compared to him, anyway. You're a young guy. You're on the tour. You know how tough it is. Where are you at the moment, and where do you think you're going?
I'm in Leeds, and we're not allowed to leave the house, so I'll probably just stay here.
Now, that's very cheeky. I know you're in effing Leeds. Where are you? Where are you going to go? Where are you? Where's your head? Where is your head at the moment with snooker? Well, spit it out.
I feel better in my own head than I have for a long time. Just need some tournaments, really. I feel like I'm definitely a better player now than I ever have been. And soon, hopefully, it'll all just click together and I'll start climbing the rankings again, like I know that I can.
So, yes, again, going back to the confidence thing, I think it's like a lot of same players in your age group. It's getting that win, a little bit of confidence, and it drives you forward, gives you lots of confidence, and it keeps you going. But at the same time, you have to play your best game. And even after 6 years, you'll know how tough it is. So looking at the players, we're going to touch on the players at the top here, guys. Okay. Now, irrespective of ranking positions, I've already spoken to a lot of players, similar ranking positions, but you look at these top players, you look at John Higgins, Mark Selby, you look at Ronnie, you look at Judd Trump, why are they where they are? Why are they so good? What have they got? What have they got that you guys don't have? Peter, start with you.
Well, for me, I think it's fairly obvious. I've never had the self-belief that I would get to the top. And that's it. They've got that self-belief that they think every time they get their cue out of their case, they're going to win. And not only are they going to win, they're going to win the tournament. Every single one of them players is going there to win the tournament. They're not thinking, oh, well, if I can win this first match, I'll nick myself a few grand. They're going there to win the comp, and anything less than that for them is failure. Whereas I'm happy to win a match and then see how far I can go. And that is not good enough to be a top player. It's just not good enough.
Oliver.
Hello.
What have these guys got? The top players. What have they got that you don't have?
The experience of winning tournaments. They've obviously all got better self-belief than I have.
Self-belief. Now you're touching on self-belief. Just like Peter mentioned there.
Yeah, because I think possibly as well, my lack of self-belief has rubbed off a little bit on Oliver.
Right. That's very, very interesting.
And which is one of the reasons why he's teamed up with Chris Henry this season. I know it hasn't clicked for him this season, but I'm sure if anybody can get the best out of Oliver, it will be Chris, because he's great in that side of the game. And if he does, then I think they can go far.
Oliver, do you think he can help you from a psychological perspective? Do you think that is an important part? I mean, we talked about confidence. We talked about, because you've all got I mean, I look at 100. You've all got ability. You've all got ability to score heavy and do more. But do you think psychologically that from a coaching perspective that is going to be a big part? That's going to get you where you want to go?
I feel like that's the only part of the game that has stopped me from already being near the top where I want to be. We've spent a lot of time working on it together. We don't really work on snooker when I see him most of the time because he's always like, there's just no point. I feel a lot better in my own head now because of Chris, and just how it is really.
And it's interesting, Peter, that you reflected on that too, because you obviously agree with that, don't you?
100%, yeah, 100%. I see Oliver playing in the club. I see him playing all day long. He's having 5, 6, 7, 8 centuries a day. In practice, he's setting his long pots up. He's getting 95% of his long pots. He's making every routine he's setting up. He's clearing. He's going into a match. And he's only had maybe, I think it's 17 centuries so far. You know what I mean? It's nowhere near reflective of how good he is as a player. And as soon as he finds that, as soon as that clicks, I think I think everyone will start to see the real Oliver. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm his dad, because I see it all. I see it in the club all day long.
So it's very much psychological, guys. This is one of those sports, isn't it? Where the mind.
That's what I'm saying.
See in here, see what's going on in here from the point that you arrive at the venue to the point of getting on the table to who your opponent is. And Peter, I agree with what you said because many tour players of your generation are saying the same thing. It doesn't matter who you play. It doesn't make a difference because you've got to beat them.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make a difference. If you go to the event and you've got the mindset and you're driven and you're inspired and you have a bit of confidence, then that is a big, massive, massive, massive thing.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. And, listen, I got to the semi-finals of the Paul Hunter last year. Do you know what I mean? From nowhere. Do you know what I mean? And I turned up, at the beginning of the event, and I beat some good players: Mark Davis, Kurt Mafflin, Jack Krasowski. I ended up losing 4-3 on the black. I came within a whisker of winning a comp from nowhere. It can happen. It can turn around like that. If you just get out there and play your natural game, you can do it. Obviously they can do it. Them top players can do it consistently over and over and over again. But you've got to start somewhere.
But do you think, lads? I mean, I want to touch on you with this one, Oliver. Do you think you see when you get to the venue and there's pressure on you and you need to perform. You've got all these demons. You've got these demons. You've got these things to deal with. You've got all these little problems inside yourself. Lack of confidence, maybe. You need that win. You need to start winning. So very, 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 very tough. How do you? I mean, look, a lot of this. All right, from a coaching perspective is one thing, but a lot of it you have to deal with yourself. So how do you prepare yourself? I mean, Oliver. I mean, what ways do you prepare yourself psychologically when you get in there and you have to win?
Well, recently, I've started actually preparing, whereas before, I never used to prepare. I just used to turn up and I just used to play, and if I win, I win, and if I lose, then I lose, and I'll just play again in the next tournament. Mm-hmm. And that's the sort of mindset that I want to get back to, because that's when I was playing at my best, when I turned up, and if I win, and great, and I'll go to the next round, and if I lose, then I'll go home and I'll practice, and I'll turn up again at the next tournament, and everybody is going to lose because that's just how it is. But you've got to accept that you're going to lose a lot of matches. But I didn't accept that I was going to lose a lot of matches in the last few years, and I think that's why I started trying too hard to. Started trying too hard not to lose instead of trying to win, whereas that was costing me massively.
But do you just focus on your weaknesses? Because I think all the good players look at their weaknesses. I mean, all through your whole career, doesn't matter whether you're just starting like you are, or Peter, you've been in the game for a long, long time. You're always looking at improving the weak parts of your game. Peter, what would you say, looking back in your career, were the weakest part of your game? Or areas where you would like to have improved upon?
Oh, just mentally. But like I
Okay,
say,
mentally.
I just went to competitions on my own. I never had anybody with me or anything, and
Okay.
I just turned up and played, and the stuff, some of the stuff, it can eat you up, can't it? If you just dwell on it and dwell on it and dwell on it. But so yeah, mentally, I would say for me.
Oliver?
I'd probably say the same, because anybody who's seen me play in practice, like Dad has every day, knows that my game is in pretty good shape. If I can just believe that it's in good shape myself, then you'll see a different player.
Well, I think this is what we've got from this interview so far, and this is one of the reasons why I do these interviews, lads. It's just to give the other players outside a little bit of an insight into the players and how they're thinking. And I think the areas where you both touched on here for the last half hour, it's going very quickly, this, by the way, which I like it when it goes quickly, because it means we're actually getting some good information out there. Because a lot of the young players are watching this and they're thinking, you know what, I can actually relate to this. I can relate to this confidence thing. I mean, a lot of the young guys have come down and playing my pro-ams. Older guys too, by the way, Peter.
Yeah.
It's a very mixed bag, and I watch them and they come in and they're pumping in 60 and 70 breaks every time they get in, and then there's days that don't even turn up. They can't string a 20. They're missing everything, and so it's a balance of everything. It's a balance of being prepared, and it's a balance of being in the mood. And I think if you're winning and you're on form, then you're okay. But this is a question for you, actually. This is a question for you. Is snooker one of those games where you have to be on form?
No. All you have to do is be better than the player you're playing on the day.
Yeah.
That's all. It's not a question of form, but you've got to have the belief that when push comes to shove, you're going to pot those balls. You're going to go out there to try and win, as opposed to fall over the line and hope you don't blow it at the death. You've got to be able to go out there and say, right, I'm going to have this.
It's exactly like that. This is where snooker, compare. What's your take on that, Oliver, if you have one?
I agree with what Dad just said. It's a pretty good point.
I think it is a very different sport. I mean, look, footballers are paid a lot of money. To go on the pitch and perform. If they don't perform, they're going to be taken aside. Snooker players are very isolated to a point where you have to win, and this is another wee question, sort of getting back to where we were a bit earlier. The 128 draw format. You're thrown at the deep end. I mean, for example, say you got Ronnie, Peter, say you got John Higgins. You're not going to be favourite to win those games. You could win those games, but there's a lot of pressure on you, because if you don't win that first match, you're not going to win. You're not going to win any money.
But the thing is, you can't. You just can't look at it like that. You've got to look at the bigger picture. You've got to be able to go out there and look at the bigger picture. Look at where you want to be in 18 months' time, and whether you're going to have improved, and whether you're going to be a better player, and whether you've moved up the rankings. Not if you focus on each individual match as it goes along, you'll just cripple yourself. You've got to look at the bigger picture, and just go out there and play. Because you've already prepared. Go out there and play the tournament. See how far you get. See what you did wrong when you get back home. Or if you've done anything wrong, sometimes you lose and you don't do anything wrong. So you can't. If you're going to beat yourself up every time you lose a match, you might as well stop playing.
So yes, no, very, very good point. Very, very good point there, Peter. Actually, but it's not really about thinking too much about winning that couple of grand.
No,
it's about your self belief. It's about winning that match, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if you win that first match. Then it puts you in a good stead to play your next match.
Yeah, because most people that play snooker as well, they're not out there thinking about the money, thinking, oh, I've got to pop these balls to win this $2,000 or whatever. They're just so desperate to win. You know, that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to win the match in hand, whether it be for 10 quid or 10 grand. They're just trying to win the match. So you've got to go out there and just do whatever you get. You know, just go out there and relax and play. And that's what you've got to try and do, which is easier said than done. Which is why the top players are the top players, because they do that. They do that day in, day out.
You know, when you look at them, I mean, you see these guys. I mean, we touch on the very difficult players. You know, the very tough technical players, the players who are doing the hardest to beat. You know, and we have to mention. Obviously, we have to mention Ronnie and Selby and Higgins and Robertson and, you know, Sean Murphy and, you know, the players who, even their B games, their B and C games are very difficult to beat because for some reason, they seem to compose themselves very well. Is that why they're as good as they are? Because they have a good psychological composure. They have a lot of the things that a lot of young players, a lot of new players are trying to get.
Yeah. I presume so, yeah.
They're very successful, you know. I mean, look.
But again, you look at all them players you've just mentioned. Apart from, let's say, the Rocket, they all took time to establish themselves. It takes time. It's not something you just go boom and you're thrown into it and you fly right to the top of the rankings. You've got to learn and learn and learn as you go along, you know. And then once you get there, you've got to keep working hard. We've seen top players out there, you know, that have taken their foot off the gas, and sooner or later, hold on a minute, they're not in the top 16 anymore. What's going on? They're too good not to be. And then they start working again. They get back up there. You've got to keep yourself dedicated, keep your belief, and keep enjoying it. And then you can do. And then to give yourself every chance.
I keep asking players this about where they think they should be. Peter, looking over your career for a moment, did you ever sort of see yourself as potentially getting in the top 32? Did you feel you were good enough to get in the top 32?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
But perhaps maybe things held you back.
Yeah, myself.
Yep.
I should have been in the 32. Now I'm not saying I would have got in the top 16. Maybe I could have sneaked in. Maybe not. You know, I will probably say we'll never know now, but I should have been in the 32, but I didn't get in there, you know, so I've only got myself to blame. Mm-hmm. But it's tough to look back on and think, I should have done that, I wish I'd done that, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that, but I didn't do it at the time, so that's just life, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oliver, what's your take on that? I mean, look, I know you've been on the tour 6 years. You know, you're still a young guy. Where do you see yourself in reality? I mean, do you see yourself being in a position where you should be a lot higher than where you are? Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I see myself lower than I should be ranked. But these things happen. You just got to get stronger. Obviously, there was parts of my game and parts of myself that needed to improve to get where I want to be. And I know I can get there once I improve these things. So right now I've just got to take where I am and just keep aiming to be higher.
Well, let's just touch on that. Tell us what you need to do. Just remind me what you need to do to get yourself up there.
I just need to be stronger mentally. You look at all the top players and they're in one of them players that goes into a match and doubts themselves ever. Obviously, Judd's one of my best mates, and 18 months ago, people were writing him off saying that he won't do this, he won't do that, and 18 months later, he's breaking all records.
Fantastic. It's incredible. It's almost like it's incredible what he's doing. Absolutely incredible. Peter, well, I mean, look, you know, this is the great thing about having you two on here, because we've got two generations of snooker here, and you know, I often joke about it, but the thing is that you've got yourself back on the tour again, and I see when you get back. By the way, see when you get back on the tour, I was chuffed to bits, man. I really was, because I like to see older players, even as old as you, getting back on the tour again. You know,
Yeah.
you're
Hope
actually. I
for
think
everybody.
actually, if we want to look at the accuracy here of statistics. I believe, as far as I know, I've got a feeling you're the second oldest player on the tour. Have I got that right?
No,
George 51.
I think I'm the fourth.
4. Okay. Maybe I should do my homework.
Right. I'll get someone to do a better interview.
All right. Well, look. Where do you want to, what do you want to do? Tell me what you want to do now, Peter. What would you like to do?
Snooker.
I've lost you there.
Hello?
Can you hear me? I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. What would I like to do?
Yeah. What would you like to prove now? Tell us what you'd like to prove.
I haven't thought over the last, say, 15 years that I could win a competition. But I'd like to win a competition.
Okay.
And I came so close from nowhere that and obviously I know you've got to beat some top players, but I know I've beat top players before. Listen, I can't see it being one of the bigger comps, but there's a lot of smaller pro comps out there, especially these home nation series. I'd love to try and win one.
Tell you what, Peter, see when you get to the final of this ranking event, I'm going to make sure I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. And I'm going to celebrate with you.
I hope I see you there.
Oliver, just touch on you for a wee second here. Look, the upside here is you have a lot of time on your hands to we've talked about, the both of you very much have emphasized on that confidence is a part, the mentality of where you're going with the game. To that extent is a big part of both of you. You're both, by the way, the both of you are very similar, father and son, but you're sort of like you are to a large extent very similar in your thoughts and beliefs about where you are and where you're going to go. And it's a good thing. It can't be anything but a good thing, I think, extending from each other. But Oliver, where would you like to, how long do you think it's going to take you? I mean, like, this is a tough question to ask somebody, but obviously you've told us today what you'd like to do and how far you want to take it and what you need to do to improve it. But what areas of your game do you think you need to improve on the table? Apart from the mental side, what areas of your game would you like to improve on?
Obviously my scoring, but my scoring's there in practice because I don't worry about missing and stuff like that. So it all just comes from one thing. If you believe you're going to clear up, then you probably will clear up.
So scoring heavier when you get in? Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, that's the thing I emphasize when the players come to my pro-ams. I think it's a big thing. If I got a new player come in, he scores very heavy, with 2 or 3 opportunities, whatever table he plays on, doesn't matter. It's a good sign that the player has a lot of ability, he can score, and that comes with it. What do you need to do? I mean, do you think there's areas of your game that you need to focus on? Is there very weak areas of your game that you would like to focus on and improve specifically?
I'd say there's no very weak areas. Not every part of my game could improve, but I wouldn't say there's any area of my game that is particularly weak.
And what would you say the strongest part of your game is on the table?
My long point, I'd say my long point is pretty good.
Peter, I mean, this is a reflection of all of your career. What areas do you think is your strongest?
I think I'm the best rest player on the tour.
So am I. I'm the best rest player in the world.
You're not on the tour. but is that a good claim to fame, being the best rest player? It just means that the cue ball's so bad, I'm always using the rest.
No, well, I'll tell you what. We're having a joke and a laugh about this over the years about players using the rest. Whether they want to stretch or whether they want to use the rest. I think the only reason you're going to stretch is because you're lazy. Or you're going to play with the rest. I mean, why would you miss with the rest? Of course, you use the bloody rest.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. For Christ's sake, I'm a very, very good rest player because I'm very well known for moving on the shot. That's not the only reason why. But that's that. Right. So anyway, lads, we're going to touch on where we are at the minute. I'm going to look. I'm getting a wee, as usual. I apologise to everybody. We tend to run over on this because players on here slagging me off a wee bit here, Peter. People are slagging me off because they think I'm talking too much. I'm just trying to ask the right questions. That's all I'm trying to do. Peter Waring, football league, snooker should be different. I'm always looking for good questions here, lads, because you get, you never know what you're going to get.
Ask me any of them, I'll answer them.
But while I'm looking through the questions, a lot of women have accused me in the past of being not very good at multitasking. I'm very good at a lot of things, because women have been the biggest precursor of every trouble that I've had in my life, And as a matter of fact, I'm not going to get too much into this, but women can complicate great snooker players. Anyway, look, we're not going to get into that because
no, it's probably best if we don't.
We're going to get into trouble. But anyway, it looks like, boys, just touching on the World Championship, all right? It looks like it's going to be held behind closed doors. What are your views on that? We'll start with you, Peter.
I think obviously it's not great that it's behind closed doors, but I think most of the pros, and in fact a lot of the public, would at least rather see some snooker. They'd rather it be on than not on. So if it has to be behind closed doors, then so be it. But I think it can only be a good thing that it's on, because there's so many people out there that want to watch it and love snooker. So I say get it on.
Oliver?
Yeah, I agree. I'd rather have a tournament behind closed doors than no tournament at all.
Do you know what, Oliver? You agree with every single thing that your father says.
It has to.
Parenting.
All I did with my father was argue with him all the time.
Oh, we do that as well.
Yeah, we do that all the time. Behind off camera.
Behind closed doors.
Hey man, concentration go here. Dave asked God damn question. People are slagging me off here, lads. I don't know.
Looking like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
No, I mean I get here, somebody's asking you about your retirement, Peter. I think it's a wee bit rude, actually. I think it's a bit rude.
Is it my wife, Sarah?
What's your plans for retirement, Peter?
I don't know yet. Well, I've just got a job on the board, so maybe that.
A job on the what?
On the WPBSA board, so maybe that.
Oh, have you?
I have, yes.
Well, they need lots of experience. So that can go a long way, and you certainly have that. So I've just given you I've given you a grade 1 reference.
Thank you.
Let me see. Have a little look here. Come on, guys. Why don't you ask some good questions? Like I do. Why don't they ask questions like I do? What's wrong with you? Got some people looking on here. That's okay. That's all right. But look, I think there's... So just remind us now, before we sort of wind this down a wee bit, and we'll start with you, Peter, only because you're older. What do you see the rest of the season here? Where do you see the rest of the season going? Obviously, it's probably going to end with the Worlds, Where are you going to be? Where do you see yourself after the Worlds?
Hopefully watching Oliver at the Crucible. during the Worlds. But then after, it's hard to say, isn't it? It's unique circumstances, isn't it? I know, obviously, because I just said I've got a job on the board, and we are working really hard to try and get, next season up and running. So I should imagine I'll be throwing myself into that quite a bit.
I'm very pleased to hear about that. I didn't know about that, by the way, but that I'm very pleased. And you have another season. You have another season. Wow. What are you going to do? You want to skyrocket? You want to really turn it on?
Yeah, I'm going to win a com, so me and you can get to that final.
Oliver, let's turn over to you. All right, really does look like World Championships behind closed doors. You're obviously going to very much. Are you looking forward to that, even if it comes to that? And what are your views on that?
Oh, I just want to get back playing. I've missed it. Yeah. It's been so boring not playing that I've actually missed the game. Mm-hmm. I'll take a tournament anywhere right now.
You can come down playing one of my pro-ams. I'll organise one for the weekend.
That's fine.
No, they're all tough, Right, lads, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Actually, we're going to wrap this up because we've been on for a long time. I've had the guys have been very good. Some nice views there. As usual, I ask all the questions because I usually get all the answers. But look, we've had a little bit of an insight into both of you, and I think from here on in, what we have. By the way, this gets uploaded on YouTube, so it stays on there for life. It doesn't go anywhere. But I think what we've got today is we've got a good insight. Peter, we've got a good insight to your background. And it's great to have a father and son on here. Not going to have it very, very often. And you just bounced off each other a wee bit there, in an extent. And you practice together and you have the views that you have. And I'm sure, Peter, you've inspired Oliver. Oliver, you've taken a lot off your dad. And you both know how tough it is on the tour because you're pretty much on a balance of things. You pretty much are. Oliver, you're pretty much where your dad was, for a lot of his tour time. Maybe, in terms, you might look at the numbers maybe back in the day when your dad was on the tour, when he was your age or a little bit older, when there maybe wasn't so many good players on there, when there wasn't so much maybe perhaps money in the game. These days, there's a lot of tournaments and there's a lot of money can be won very quickly if you can get past, obviously win your first match, as tough it is with 128, But look, it's an absolute pleasure to speak to both of you lads. And I will look forward to seeing the both of you soon. And I'll have a wee catch up in hopefully the Players Lounge. And then we'll, Oliver, I wish you all the best, mate.
Thank you.
On the tour.
Thank you.
You're a young guy and I'm watching. And I hope that you start getting the results you want. And you've got a great coach. That man beside you there is, been a tour professional for years, and you can't think of a better coach than your father. Who's been on the tour as long as he has. And Peter, thanks very much. We've got a little bit inside where you were on the tour. You've given us a lot of background. And it was an absolute pleasure to speak to the both of you, lads.
No problem.
Thank you.
Again, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do this again very soon, maybe. When Peter has won his first ranking event.
Yeah.
Oliver, you're in the obviously digging well into the top 64. Up the top there, skyrocketing to the top. And I'm going to be watching out for you lads, and I'm sure we'll have a few laughs in the days to come. All right.
Yeah. Thank you
for joining us.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Take care.
Be good. There you go, guys. That's Peter and Oliver Lanes. I'm sorry I didn't look to my right there, but no, two great lads, and I hope you got something from that, and I hope you can maybe look back on this and maybe think, they had a few interesting points of view, and I think if I look at this interview, I think what I've got from Peter and Oliver is that, obviously father and son, from that point of view. But they both have a very, very similar perspective on where they are, where they're going, where they've been. Very, very similar. Very interesting. That I wasn't anything like my father at all. I probably behaved a wee bit like him, which was never a good thing. When it came to tournaments and stuff like that and socializing. But I think it's great to see a father and son on the tour, and they can help each other. And I would love to see, obviously, Peter and Oliver do very well and keep themselves on there and win some matches. Right, so next week we got Murphy. As I said earlier, Murphy's been dying to get on a show. He's been torturing me for weeks to come on. And I can't put him off any longer, guys. I'm going to have to let him come on. Okay? So we're going to test the connection through the week. We're going to test the internet connection just to make sure he knows how to work this thing. We're going to get him on, and we're going to have a great insight. We're going to get inside of the head of Sean Murphy. We're going to talk about his snooker. We're going to talk about where he is and where he's going. Is he going to win another world championship? Is he good enough? Has he lost it? Is he mixing too much with the Irish? I don't know. You got to send some questions in. So send me some questions in for Sean Murphy, and we'll get to the bottom of everything next week. Okay? Okay. It's not too much to ask, is it? Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all next week. Keep safe. Keep distancing. Keep out of trouble.